We're good? Okay, I'm going to give them each a quick 30-minute background information, starting with Alan Hill. He's first on the ballot, followed by Greg Sanchez.
You
Give your
ready?
background.
A minute's not much. I'm a 17-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office, worked every aspect of it. I'm a FBI Gang Task Force officer. I'm currently the captain of the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff come back, took me from sergeant and CID. I turned down lieutenant several times. He made me captain to do things to the rest of the department that I'd done to narcotics. I fixed that. He wants me to fix the rest of the department. That's what I'm working on.
All right. My name is Greg Sanches, and I've worked a little bit over 30 years in law enforcement, right at 29 with DPS, 2.5 with Angelina County while I was attending college at Angelina, and got my criminal justice degree. Worked in the Highway Patrol, and then later transferred over, competed against 5 other troopers for the Safety Education Department, which was a department that was everything from media to emergency management to working the command post during hurricanes or anything, education, training, firearms, and also I sit on a lot of hiring boards for promotions, and also just hiring civilians as well as troopers in the field. So I just bring a lot of credentials, everything from my college to my education and the training in DPS, and also with the county, working as a deputy and as a jailer. And so I just feel like I bring a lot to the table.
Thank you, guys. Okay, the first question is going to start with Alan Hill. They're both going to answer the same questions. Alan, what does the sheriff's job entail to you?
The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. He's the only one with responsibilities in law enforcement that the sheriff's office has. They handle criminal law. They patrol some. Mainly theirs is answering disturbances, running the jail, the transport and pickup of prisoners from out of county, normally all the mental health transports, the managing of the funds that are given. All those are allotted and pretty much spent when we get them. The sheriff is in charge of everything, pretty much, from criminal, civil, all the seizures, the writs. There's nobody else does what we do.
Your turn.
Well, all right. Yeah, the sheriff is a very big responsibility. It's mainly he is an administrator. He is the leader of the sheriff's department as well as the jail, and the sheriff's department is a very important part of it, but the jail is a very important part also. He is, like he said, he's over the criminal as well as the civil. He's also responsible for the safety and security at the courthouse. Also the transportation of prisoners to and from. But it's a job that a sheriff has to come in and lead by example, but lead with integrity. It's very important to be responsible with the taxpayers' money, and make sure that the things that we're buying is things we need, that we're using the money conservatively and properly, but also at the same time protecting the folks of Angelina County.
Do you guys want to respond to each other's answer?
No, I'm good.
No? Greg, in your own words, what does leadership mean?
Leadership is like I said, it's being the one that you're setting an example. You hold your responsibility. When things go down, you're responsible for it, and you take a firm stand. You hire good people. That's another part of being a good leader. Is having good people that are well qualified law enforcement officers that work for you, and providing the proper training for those officers that work for you as well. And again, serving the people and being a sheriff that is there when the folks come in to talk to somebody, that you're responsible and you'll talk to them and take care of their problems. And that's what the folks want to see. They want to see a sheriff that is here, not out of town, that sticks here, and he's part of the community. And that's another thing, is being a team leader and working with the other agencies, whether it be the county, the city, the state, or the federal folks that are here in our community, and again, leading by integrity.
Thank you. Alan?
Leadership to me is leading by example, knowing what the job entitles of all aspects, being someone can come to you and ask you a question, you can answer it. The sheriff has to know everything that's going on. He may not be the best at everything, but he has to know or have a good idea how everything works. My form of leadership is working with the guys, coming back, identifying the problems, coming back and telling the administration, here's my problems, this is what I want done about it. That's what I'm doing now as captain. The only way I can fix something is if I know how it works and I see it myself and know it's broke. I lead by example. I go out in the field, my guys need help. I roll up my sleeves and I'm helping. There's no job up there that I don't know how to do, and there's no job that I'm too good to do. I'll pick a broom, sweep a floor if it needs done. That's how you get your people's respect. You lead them, you work with them, they respect you, they follow you. That's leadership by example. That's the way it's always worked for me.
Alan, as sheriff, what, if any, changes will you make to the sheriff's department?
First and foremost, I'll change the hiring policy. You know, people say the good old boy system. I'm not Kent. Kent's a good friend of mine, but I don't want to know who's going to be hired. I want a fair policy. I've already talked to Lufkin PD about how they hire officers. We bring people. I don't know who's going to be hired. We set policies, testing, just pretty much the same policies Lufkin's got, and I'll hire the person that gets to me. My job will be to ensure the policy is fair. I'm not going to sit on the interview board. I'm just going to ensure all that's done. I'm going to take some cars away from some people. I'm going to change some policies in relations to the way things have done. You know, we've got the way we're doing the sex offender registration part. We have one officer. He does not have time to go out there and deal with all of them. I want to use reserves. They're free. They don't cost anything for the county. They can come in and do that for me. I can bring teams to them. I haven't had that done every month. I want to restructure the jail. We have 2 administrators in there now. We only need 1. That's a waste to me. I'm going to move that person into the DARE program and reinstate our DARE program. But I want it to be an adapted DARE program where we're not targeting the junior high, the elementary children that tend to forget things. I want to move it to the junior high to where every time I go to one of these schools to identify a new drug or synthetic things, they call me out there and I go look at it.
Alan, your time's up.
I'm sorry. My bad.
You're good. Greg, your turn.
Okay. Well, same thing. I believe that the sheriff department is lacking in a lot of areas. It needs to be constructed, and that from the standpoint of that's where the sheriff come in, is getting good command staff, good leadership. So your patrol, your investigators, and the jail is running efficient, and so also that we're being responsible again with our money and how we're spending that money, that we're using our resources properly. But patrol we need a deputy on the south end. We need zones. We need to set zones for the deputies to where we have zones where they can make sure the county's covered properly. Investigators, we need to revamp it, make sure we have highly trained investigators to make sure they're getting the proper training. When it comes to investigating sexual abuse with our children, make sure the sex offenders is also being, again, revamped to make sure we're doing a good job there. But also, there's other areas as far as when it comes to drugs. I believe that we need to have a strong narcotic unit with the sheriff's department. We need to revamp that as well. In the jail, when we talk about the jail, we need that is something that really needs to be restructured and done properly. We need to make sure we have a good command structure there, and make sure we hold those jailers accountable, as well as the deputies as well, but make sure they get the proper training, because as you know, the jail is a big liability for the taxpayer.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do you guys want to respond to each other? They're very passionate, can you tell?
You can talk forever. I got a couple of things to say. As far as narcotics unit, we got the best in the state, bar none, for the size we have. Putting a deputy in the south end of the county with the staffing we have is just impossible, due to the fact that we're running short because we don't make overtime. We have deputies are off. They have to burn their time. The other deputies burn more time. We're always short-handed. Keeping a deputy in the south is physically impossible due to our call log. We had 15,000 calls last year. It's just physically impossible.
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, I believe that's where restructuring the command. I've got different ideals there. When it comes to, we got a lot of investigators over there. There's a lot of things that deputies could do as well when it comes to a lot of the misdemeanor investigation to help relieve those investigators. We could pull off and do some things to improve the drug They're narcotic investigations. I don't believe, and I have put this out, I don't believe in narcotics going on drug raids, going into people's homes. That is a violation. That is a constitutional freedom that's being violated, letting the media go into these homes on these drug raids. I don't agree with that. That's going to be changed. That is a Supreme Court ruling that says it can't be done. It's also common sense that they're not they are not law enforcement. They don't have a right to enter that home. That there is proper ways to do it. That's why you don't see other agencies doing that, because there's a reason for it. If you look at DPS, they have way over 200 narcotic arrests. So is some of these other agencies. They just don't go out there running through people's homes with the news media. There is a proper way to do that, and I talk to the folks out here in this community, and they don't like that. And I told them I'm going to change that. So,
okay. Greg, there is a severe problem with the Sheriff's Department's budget. How do you plan on solving it?
Well, that's where we're coming in, and I've already looked at several cars that could be cut. There's a lot of people driving to and from their home to the Sheriff's Department that don't need cars. And so that we could save at least over $17,000 just in gas, just the cars I looked at, and not cutting the cars, some of those cars out, and saving not only the car maintenance and tires and all that, but also the insurance as well. So that could be a savings. And then looking at the jail, there's some savings there I believe that could be done. And then when I get in there, we'll look at other areas. I'm going to be very conservative. I want to be very efficient in the way the taxpayers' money is being spent.
Ready, set, go.
The sheriff's office has an immense budget. Like I said, it's spent when you got it. We can cut inmate food plan and change the way we feed them. Just feed them some sack lunches and one hot meal a day. That'll save about $50,000. Taking the deputies' cars away, there's some that can be taken away. Every trooper in the state takes a car home. Almost every detective at Lufkin PD takes home. Their supervisors take them home. We're in a job market where we have to compete. We're the lowest paid agency in the county, period. A 17-year sergeant at the sheriff's office makes less than a police officer that walks in the door at Lufkin PD the first time. If you don't offer some things that other agencies' officers, you lose your employees. We're a training center right now. We spend copious amounts of money training officers just for them to get trained and go to other agencies, because we don't make anything. That's, we can cut some things, yes, some cards can come off, but there's cars are needed for a purpose. If they don't need them, they're not getting them. I'm just not giving people a ride to take back and forth home. If they have a reason, they'll get them. If not, they won't.
Do you want to respond, Greg?
Yes, I do. I retired DPS trooper. Troopers are on call. When they take those cars home, they're on call. The people that I'm talking about in the county are not on call. And these people out here, the public know that. They don't like it. I don't like it, and I'm going to stick up for what the people want. If they're not on call, they don't take a car home. There's people working 8 to 5. They're taking cars home. They don't need cars. It doesn't have anything to do with DPS or Lufkin PD. It's people that are, those people are on call. So there is a difference. If somebody's on call, then the public has no problem with that. But the problem is there's a lot of folks out there that are driving them, that are just driving them back and forth, and there's no use in that. And I told you, I want to be conservative, and that's the way I believe.
Do you want to respond, Alan?
Yes, there's 5 people that take cars home. They're not on call, and they're not going to have them. There's 5. That's it.
Well, that's not the ones I've counted. So.
Well, you don't know what they do.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
I do too, and these folks out here do too.
You don't know.
Yeah, they do. They do know.
Okay. Alan, is education crucial for a leader? If so, what various types of education are needed?
Education is important. I'm about probably 65 hours short of my bachelor's. I'm working toward it. I have to put my wife and my family first. I don't make a lot of money, so what I get comes second. My education has come from leading experience and being there and actually doing these jobs over the years. Formal education is important, but far more important is common sense. I work with some guys in cases they, master's and doctor's degree. They were very educated, but they lacked common sense. And they were commonly referred to by some of the people we worked with as educated idiots. Because they were very intelligent, very smart, but they lacked the ability to see how things actually worked. And what we're doing is a common sense based function. I mean, it's just strictly business.
Let's take that question again.
Is education crucial for a leader? If so, what various types of education are needed?
Well, it's very important. And, you know, I graduated from high school. I went to college. I went through the DPS Training Academy, which everybody knows is 4 months and 2 weeks. The training that you receive in there is just, I mean, it's unbelievable, and everybody knows that. So as a leader, the education that you have, but I'm going to tell you another thing too. When a person takes on a job, if you're getting paid $5 an hour, you know that going in. You can't use that as an excuse for doing lousy work, okay, or not doing certain things. What you're getting paid, those folks are expecting you to do a good job. They get paid, I agree, their pay needs to come up, but that's not an excuse. When you wear a badge and you wear a gun and you're out there and enforcing the law, the people want people that are going to have integrity, that are going to have good work ethics, and that's, as a leader, that's what I expect too. I don't care what you're making, you should be a person that has integrity and has pride in being and wearing a gun and badge. I believe in that.
You guys want to respond to each other's answers?
I agree with him. The guys, you know, they know what they make, and that's something I'm real hard on. I don't make a lot of money, but I work as hard or harder than anybody at that sheriff's office. I probably put in 60, 70 hours a week, and I get paid for 40, and I don't even turn in comp time. And I expect my guys to work just as hard. I can't expect them to donate time, but while they're there, they're going to work. If not, they're not going to be there.
You want to respond?
Well, again, I'll just respond back to, you know what you're making. You get comp time, you get holiday time, and you get sick leave. Those are benefits that the county gives. You know what your pay is when you go into it, and I think any common sense person will agree that that's the job you should give them. You should be honest and truthful about it. And there is a problem with our overtime. There's a little handout back there. Well, the county right now owes over $504,000 just in the sheriff department and the jail in overtime. If everybody left over there right now, the county would be in a bind. There's people there, they owe $20-something thousand and $10,000, $5,000, or whatever. That's a supervisor problem right there, when people are building that kind of time up, putting the county in a burden on when it comes to payout to some employees or a bunch of employees.
Are there any audience questions for these candidates? Oh no. Here comes Dale Ingle.
I have one for both of you. What do you plan to do before the commissioners regarding pay and incentive for the sheriffs, the officers? Rather than being a training ground, we know pay is a problem. What plans can you bring to the commissioners to increase their pay? Yes, there may need to be a tax increase. Would you be willing to support a tax increase for the sheriff's department employees to get pay raises, and you can cut back on the loss of the money you spend out for training?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to the folks, whether tax increase or not, because we're going to take what the money we got and be efficient with it and use it wisely. I think that what I want to do is prove to the commissioners and to the public that we're going to do a great job, that we're going to be professional, and we're going to get good folks, and we're going to have rules and policies in place, and hopefully through all that, when they see that we are serious, then the commissioners will give us a raise, because then you got the public behind you, because then they see that you're out there taking those calls and not taking them over the phone when they call in. I had a guy just the other day. You would think with all this going on that they wouldn't be doing that, but a guy called in the other day, had stuff stolen at his house, and what do? They take it over the phone. There's no sense in that. They should send a deputy out there. So anyway.
Alan?
Now, to answer that, policy as they go. Whoever needs to report it, we'll deal with them. As far as the commissioner part of it, I've already met with several of the commissioners in talking about the things. They want some concessions that I'm willing to make. I told them I won't negotiate on things that affect public safety, but I'm willing to make some concessions and do some things they want to do in order to help us as well. They're well aware that there's nothing that I could do to make enough concessions to make up for the type of raise we need, but they seem to be on the same page that they know we need it, and as long as I'll make a good faith effort and do some of the things they want to do, they're willing to do the same. And it's just a give and take, you know. Hey, I can do this for you, and they'll do it. They'll work with us. I mean, and they're not unreasonable.
Next question. We've also got one in the back, too.
This is for my husband. I just wanted to ask you a question about the Clan Lab. Can you tell me, were you provided any of those through Quantico?
The Clan Lab, the school?
Right.
Oh, yes. You talking about training?
Yes.
Yes, we were awarded 2 clandestine laboratory schools this year through Quantico. They're $25,000 apiece, and due to the work we've been doing, I work with Mr. Delgado out of Houston. He's one of the DEA agents, and it has to go through HIDA, but Texas isn't a container state, so we don't get a lot of funding. Out of 40 schools, 40 slots in the nation for this school, Angelina County was awarded 2, and I believe it's the only 2 in the state of Texas, and we got them. I can't be positive about the state, but I know we got 2 of the 40 in the nation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Back to the common sense issue you spoke of.
Yes,
What's your
ma'am.
name?
Alan Hill.
Alan. I'm Judith.
Nice to meet you, Judy.
Nice to meet you. I think it's imperative periodically to sit down and talk to a group of people that have only common sense, only an high school education or a GED, and get their feelings out as far as what do you all do, the neighborhood. There are a lot of people out there that are willing to work with you to help rectify what's going on in the neighborhood. I sleep in a room where there are windows all the way across. And then there are houses behind this apartment complex. And when I go to bed, it's either rap or Hispanic, jamming. Now I can take it for so long, and then I call the police department. And they come out there and they get rid of it. And they talk to them, some of them. But the moment the police officers leave, they crank it up again. So if you understand what I'm saying,
Yes, ma'am.
get with individuals within the community who are willing to help you, because I feel that's where your strongest help and knowledge is going to come from.
I believe what you're saying. I mean, I've said it all along. The law enforcement cannot do it alone. It's going to take the public. You know, you have a handful of officers fighting an immense problem, and it's hard to see what we deal with unless you're there. It's sitting on the outside and judging is easy to do unless you're actually there doing it and being the recipient of all this stuff. We have to have the public support. Without the public, we're pretty weak, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
Greg,
Yeah.
do you think that if you got elected that you could revamp the sheriff's department where everybody in the county has equal protection?
Well, from the standpoint of, you know, what I would bring, because of who I am and where I come from, it's working with those, like I mentioned earlier, when you're working with the city, the state, and the federal guys are bringing everybody back together. And that's what law enforcement is. Just like Sherman Collins said the other day on an interview, if a lot of officers could get up here and tell the folks what's on their mind, they'd be surprised. And this county is at a moment right now where people want something fresh. They want somebody to come in and bring the law enforcement back together, bring it back to with the community. See, the Sheriff Department never gets involved in anything. If you go to Crime Stoppers, you go to National Day of Prayer, if you go to some of these schools, you go to different events, law enforcement, like today we had training over at the college, that you don't see the Sheriff Department. They need to be involved with the community, and that's what needs to be brought.
Okay, there's also a man in the far back corner, so don't forget about him. We'll do you next.
Thank you guys for being here. I represent a nonprofit here in Lufkin who has attempted, at times been successful, at other times not so much, to provide free services to the inmates at the jail, pregnant and parenting classes. But I haven't gotten quite the support that I would like, because I believe that we have some services that would really help your female. In doing so, it kind of brought to my mind, and I'd like to know if you have any plans. We have a plethora of resources in this county. through nonprofits who could provide help and assistance training, from finances to what I do, pregnancy and parenting, to all kinds of resources that would help to an attempt to rehabilitate so that we don't have that revolving door. Do either of you have a plan for that, and could I be given some sort of assurance that you would work closely with some of us nonprofits to provide some of those
Did you
services?
say it was free?
Our services are free.
Yeah, I like that.
Pregnancy Help Center, everything is
Yeah.
free.
I like that. And yeah, anything that, here's the thing. We got a jail. It's not a prison. That means that people that are in there, a lot of folks are not guilty. They're brought in. They hadn't had trial yet, so they're presumed innocent until proven guilty. We're not a prison. Prisons is guilty folks. So we have to remember that. Now there's some people in there that are guilty. They've been put in jail for 6 months to a year, whatever, in county jail. So education is a big. Everybody knows I've been involved in it for a long time. And anything to help, whether it be religious or something of that nature, I'm all for that. You at?
I agree with Greg. Anything we can get for free, we need to bring in. Even the ministers and stuff that come in and minister to those guys, that's important. The any resource we can give them and rehabilitate them is vastly important, because, like you said, it's a revolving door right now. I mean, they come in and out. So yes, anything we can get to help rehabilitate them or assist us in any way, especially if it don't cost anything, I'm all for it.
There's one back there.
No,
Oh,
he's still-
Cassie. He still wants to ask his question. You should. Oh, he got this.
That's kind of hard. They apply with okay. Yes. That's a lengthy question, but the bottom line is we acquire with the TCEQ and OSHA regulations. We've done something different at the Sheriff's Office. There's funding being cut to that stuff, so what we did, we worked with DLS, which is an environmental company here locally, and most of ours are HAZWOP or hazmat certified deputies, and we've been to the Clan Lab school. We clean it up according to TCEQ regulations. It's neutralized and stored, and then DLS picks it up and disposes of it. Yes, we have the records. Yes, we've talked to TCEQ in full compliance with everything, and it costs the taxpayer of the United States and Angelina County nothing.
Matt.
Yes, I have a related question. Growing up and going to Central High School, a very reoccurring theme in my high school career is that crystal meth is a very, very large problem in this area. What is the sheriff's office, if you were to be elected sheriff, what changes would you make to policy that's currently going on? What would you bring to the table as far as fighting this serious problem?
Is that for both candidates?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Make sure that we have a good command staff and narcotics, that we have well-trained folks that are following the guidelines by law, that are tough on crime, they're well educated, and make sure that they're out there. We have good supervisors, make sure they're out there enforcing those laws, and that's where those training schools, every so often, because things change, the drugs change, the type of crimes change, and so we need to stay on top of that. And again, that'd be a good way to do it.
To answer your question, there's no doubt we have some of the best trained narcotics investigators in the nation, period, bar none. Put them against anybody. Our problem is the amount of personnel we have. You can't put any more. I can add another one, and I'm going to continue myself to work as well. We're just lacking people, and there's more drugs. Like Greg said, drugs are changing. There's a new one on the market now. We just seized a bunch of today. We got like 4 or 5 pounds of K2, and we got a bunch of this pump it stuff that's out now, which is a new synthetic. It was patented in 1944. It's a synthetic stimulant that the kids and stuff that are making it to our kids and it's causing seizures. It's dangerous. Staying on top of what's coming and looking ahead every day. There's new stuff. Some of this stuff even is scheduled, and we can't do anything about it when we catch them, like the bath salts and the K2. Finally, the government was able to schedule it so we can do something about it. But the criminals watch us as much as we watch them. Intelligence is key. That's what law enforcement is basically is an intelligence gathering entity. We gathered intelligence, we act on it, and they watch us. It's just a game. So basically, just try to expand it as much as I can, work with my guys, and try to stay on top of it. Working with the public.
We'll take 2 more questions. One of them's got the mic.
I know all of you and everything, worked with you and enjoyed it and stuff, but it seems like when I come to these deals here, the main thing coming up is always hiring practices. I know they state on you all the time about Lufkin PD not making those 2 up there and getting hired on over at the Sheriff's Department. But it seems like a lot of these people not being clarified on all that. Plus, if you make sheriff, would you take and get in there and hire somebody that's sat in a chair for 3 hours from a different county and hire him and put him on the street just because he sit there waiting to talk to you for 3 hours and you got reserves working their tails off and can't get nowhere?
That for me or him, Ricky? My personal opinion on that is I would rather hire from the reserves, but again, I mean, I'll give them points for being reserve and credit for working, but I am not going to get involved. If they can't pass if they've been reserved and working for me, and they come down there and they interview and test, and they still can't beat another applicant, how can I justify hiring them if they're somehow less qualified? I see where you're coming from. It's kind of like a double-edged thing. You'll put them on as a reserve, but yet they can't be full-time. They can, but just because they're reserve, I'm not going to hire them over somebody that may be more qualified and do better. But I'm going to give them credit for being reserved, maybe some points toward their testing scores.
I would say, again, that goes back to the evaluation of the employee, their work performance, work ethics, and how well the other folks are getting along with them. That's very important to make sure they're very knowledgeable in the law. And again, it goes back to that leadership and integrity issue when you go to hiring and making sure you got good folks. And same way with reserves and whoever you hire as a deputy, but if they are reserved, same applies to them. And they should be out there working and not just sitting around. They should be out there trying to help those deputies out.
One more question. You don't want to ask one, James? Well, I did, but don't be shy.
Yeah, my question is for both of you. What do you see as the benefits of the reserve program right now? And if elected, what changes would you make to that program?
Well, the reserves are a major beneficial, as we all know. I mean, again, the amount of deputies that are there is not a lot of times enough. So the reserves come in to really help aid the other deputies. They do a lot of a task that is very essential. And so just, my deal is to go in there and revamp it and make sure, again, that the reserves that we have are qualified, do backgrounds, make sure everybody's qualified to be there, and make sure their work ethics and they're very knowledgeable in what they're doing. That they show up and do work like they're supposed to. If they don't, then they don't need to be a reserve. They need to go by the rules just like everybody else. The rules are very important, and accountability is very important. As everybody knows that runs a business or anything, you got to have rules and policies, but you got to be firm with that, and you got to have accountability. If you don't, then you just got chaos.
I agree with Greg on that. It needs to be revamped. They need to have some more training and they need to go through the same FTO program and held accountable in passing it. And then once they make it there, they need to continue to work and show up. But they're akin to a volunteer fireman. They do a wonderful service. They do this for free. They work full-time jobs. They come out to serve the citizens for no pay, no compensation. So just like he said, holding them accountable, making sure they get the proper training, and making sure they do what they're supposed to do. Because they're just if they're just there to hang their hat or hold their commission, I'm not going to keep them. They're going to do what they're scheduled to do, or they just won't be there.
Thank you, guys. Give them a round of applause.